Have you ever stood under a sky overflowing with stars and felt that mix of wonder and a little nervous excitement? It's as if those countless points of light are watching us, quietly, patiently. For centuries we've asked, are we really alone? And if not, where in the universe is everyone? Physicist Enrico Fermi famously asked, where is everybody? Because by the numbers, our galaxy should be bustling with life. Yet all we hear is silence, a silence that makes you wonder, or maybe even feel a little uneasy. That brings us to the great filter, the idea that there's a nearly impossible barrier on the path from simple life to a galaxy-wide civilization. If that barrier lies behind us, then we've already beaten the toughest odds. But if it's still lurking ahead, our future might be more fragile than we'd like to think. Here's the thing. This concept isn't just about aliens. It's about us, our families, our dreams, our ability to create and to destroy. Over the course of the video, we'll explore why the galaxy might seem so quiet, what it has to do with our greatest challenges on Earth, and how our actions could be the deciding factor in whether we pass our own cosmic test or fade into the silence ourselves. We'll follow the story of the Bennett family, whose day-to-day struggles on their farm echo the bigger environmental crises we face. We'll sit in on a lecture with Dr. Amina Hussein, an astrobiologist who listens for signals among the stars, wondering if the silence is a warning for us to change course. As you journey with us, consider your own life. What kind of future do you envision for humanity? Will we find a way to thrive among the stars, or does that vast silence suggest a darker destiny? Let's kick things off by dissecting the puzzle that started it all. The paradox behind our missing cosmic neighbors, and why it might mean we're living in an era of extraordinary risk or extraordinary opportunity. Our Milky Way galaxy contains hundreds of billions of stars. When you factor in the planets orbiting them, the numbers get mind-boggling. Statistically, it feels like we should be bumping into alien civilizations all over the place, yet we're met with this eerie quiet. This is Fermi's paradox. If life is common, why don't we see any sign of it? People have proposed all sorts of answers. Maybe aliens communicate in ways we can't detect, or they're too far away, or they simply prefer to stay hidden, or maybe they never got around to building giant megastructures like Dyson spheres, so we can't spot them. But the great filter concept suggests a more unsettling explanation. At some point, nearly all life hits a wall they can't get past. Picture a cosmic assembly line turning simple chemistry into complex life, then intelligence, then technology. At any one of those steps, there might be a near impossible hurdle. If it's behind us, like the jump to multicellular life, then we might be in the clear. But if the hardest part is still coming, it could be something like nuclear annihilation, runaway climate catastrophe, or AI gone haywire. The kicker is, it's not just a question for philosophers or astrophysicists. It's an existential wake-up call for everyone. If the galaxy appears empty because advanced life keeps destroying itself, then we have to look in the mirror and ask, could we be next? Yet this isn't about doom and gloom alone. Sometimes crisis can inspire innovation. The reason we haven't blown ourselves up or collapsed yet might be because we have a knack for cooperation, at least occasionally. But will it be enough? In the blocks ahead, we'll look at specific global threats that could serve as our personal filters. We'll also see how real human stories, from a struggling farm to the quiet hopes of a scientist, bring the great filter down to Earth. Because let's face it, these grand cosmic theories start to feel a lot more real when they affect ordinary lives. First, let's pinpoint exactly what we mean by the great filter. Then we'll meet the Bennetts and witness their struggle with environmental changes that might seem small, until you realize they could be a microcosm of humanity's biggest test. Let's lay it all out. Imagine you have a checklist for going from basic chemistry to a spacefaring civilization. 1. Form a stable planet. 2. Spark the first living cells. 3. Evolve complex organisms. 4. Develop intelligence. 5. Master Technology 6. Avoid self-destruction. 7. Expand into space. At any point, things can fall apart. Maybe no single-celled life forms at all. Maybe it never gets beyond the microscopic stage. Or maybe civilization rises, only to hit a catastrophic meltdown before making it off-world. That catastrophic meltdown is what we fear might be waiting for us, the Great Filter. If the toughest steps were in our past, we're extremely lucky. But if we're only halfway through and the most dangerous steps are next, we could be in the same boat as countless extinct worlds across the universe. This concept might sound heavy, but it also puts our daily news headlines into cosmic context. Nuclear brinkmanship, climate chaos, AI ethics, these aren't just political or technological issues, they might be existential ones. We have to pass these tests, or we risk joining the silence that stretches between the stars. Remember though, humanity has already pulled off some incredible feats. We learned to harness fire, navigate the seas, explore space, and develop vaccines for killer diseases. We've even contained the immediate threat of nuclear war so far. But as we'll see, so far doesn't mean we're in the clear. In the next block, we'll step away from the big picture and zoom in on something more intimate, the Bennett family farm. Their struggle with shifting climate patterns may seem unrelated to cosmic survival, but it's actually a snapshot of the delicate balance all civilizations depend on. If that balance tilts too far, no amount of technology can save us. So while the Great Filter might be a grand cosmic theory, it becomes painfully real when you see how a single farm, a single family, can be pushed to the brink by forces larger than themselves. Forces we collectively set into motion, often without fully realizing the consequences. Meet the Bennetts. Their farm sits on what used to be lush, fertile ground. Lately, it's been a battlefield against scorching droughts, sudden floods and freak hailstorms, nature throwing curveballs they never saw coming. Every morning, they walk across land so dry it crunches underfoot. Every afternoon, they check the weather reports, hoping the next storm doesn't wipe out what's left of their crops. Why does this matter? Because climate change isn't just scientific jargon, it's these people's lives. Their yield has shrunk year after year, and so has their bank account. They've tried everything, rotating crops, investing in drought-resistant seeds, even setting up homemade irrigation systems. Sometimes it helps, other times it's like trying to bail water from a sinking ship with a spoon. Expand this story across millions of farms across continents, and you begin to see how environmental stress can unravel societies. Lack of food leads to higher prices, which can spark unrest, even conflict. Historically, civilizations have collapsed when the environment turned against them. And if global warming accelerates, we might be nudging ourselves closer to the Great Filter, unable to adapt fast enough to the chaos we've triggered. Still, the Bennetts aren't giving up. They've joined online farming forums, shared tips with others in similar struggles, and even contacted local universities to learn about experimental planting techniques. It's a small glimmer of hope. Cooperation and knowledge sharing might be how we outsmart disaster. Climate change alone might not end humanity, but combine it with the threat of nuclear war or a runaway AI, and you see how crises can stack. That's how a civilization can get overwhelmed, one issue after another, until there's no capacity left to cope. In the next block, we'll look at what might be the scariest example of advanced technology backfiring on its creators: nuclear conflict. It's a quick jump from farmland to fallout, but that's the sobering reality. From daily survival on a family farm to the fate of entire nations, it's all part of the same cosmic test. If climate change feels like a long-term crisis, nuclear war is its flashpoint cousin. It's the kind of disaster that could happen in a single catastrophic day. Ever since we discovered how to split the atom, we've lived under the shadow of potential annihilation. The Cold War era brought us to the brink. Politicians on both sides knew they were playing with fire, and close calls, like the missile crisis, proved just how easily a misunderstanding could spark the unthinkable.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
One famous anecdote involves Stanislav Petrov, a Soviet officer who received an alert that American missiles were incoming. Instead of reporting it, which would have triggered a nuclear retaliation, he trusted his gut that it was a system error. He was right. One person's calm judgment might have saved the world. That kind of story highlights how razor-thin our survival can be. Nuclear weapons aren't thousands of years away, they're sitting in silos right now. Treaties and diplomacy have helped reduce stockpiles, but the risk remains. Old tensions flare, new conflicts emerge, and a single misstep could be game over. In the context of the Great Filter, nuclear war is a textbook example of an advanced civilization failing its most critical exam. If alien societies also discover atomic energy before they learn to unify, maybe they destroy themselves too. That could explain why we see no towering alien structures. Perhaps they never had the chance to build them. Yet, there's an important flip side. The fact that we've dodged this bullet so far suggests there's hope. We've managed to avoid pressing the button, even at our most tense moments. That restraint, the ability to pull back from the brink, could be the factor that saves us. It shows we can recognize our shared fate, at least to some degree. Still, so far isn't the same as forever. Complacency is dangerous, especially as new nations acquire nuclear capabilities. Each additional player in the game increases the odds of something going horribly wrong. So while we celebrate the progress we've made in nuclear disarmament, we have to remember the clock is always ticking. It takes continuous effort, open dialogue, and a collective commitment to protect what's precious. In a world on edge, the difference between peace and total devastation can hinge on one decision, one moment, one person. Speaking of technology that can spiral out of our grasp, let's explore another candidate for the Great Filter: artificial intelligence. Could AI be the tool that saves us, or the final misstep that ensures nobody's left to explore the stars? When we talk about artificial intelligence, we mean systems that could eventually outthink us in nearly every area. That's both exciting, imagine AI solving cancer, and unnerving if it pursues goals misaligned with human survival. Picture an AI designed to optimize energy use. Sounds great, until it decides that humans themselves are the biggest drain. That's the classic paperclip maximizer scenario, where an AI relentlessly follows its directive, no matter the cost. It doesn't require an evil machine overlord, just a program that grows beyond our ability to control. High-frequency trading glitches have already caused flash crashes in financial markets. Scale that up to military or global infrastructure, and the consequences multiply. On the bright side, AI might help us solve big challenges like climate change and disease. The question is, can we implement proper safeguards before AI becomes too powerful? We need guidelines, ethical codes, and global cooperation to steer AI in a direction that benefits humanity. From a Great Filter perspective, maybe countless alien civilizations invented AI only to be undone by it. If we learn to manage it, we might bypass a trap that others failed. But so far, so good doesn't guarantee future safety. If we don't align AI with our values, we could find ourselves at the mercy of a system that sees humans as obstacles. Our challenge, then, is to remain the authors of our own destiny. If we succeed, AI becomes our ally. If not, it might be the swiftest end to an otherwise bright cosmic story. Sometimes the danger isn't our doing at all, it's the universe itself. Asteroid impacts wiped out the dinosaurs and reshaped Earth's ecosystems. A gamma-ray burst could fry our atmosphere. Supervolcanoes might plunge us into years of darkness. These events aren't daily occurrences, but when they do happen, the consequences can be catastrophic. Imagine a thriving civilization suddenly blindsided by a massive collision. Centuries of progress could vanish overnight. The good news? We're not completely helpless. We track near-Earth objects and experiment with asteroid deflection strategies. We monitor volcanic hotspots and study seismic activity, but large-scale prevention demands global collaboration, something still in short supply. In great filter terms, maybe many civilizations overcame internal threats only to be destroyed by random cosmic events. If that's common, it might explain the silence in the stars. Everyone was wiped out before they could spread their influence. Yet our growing technology also gives us ways to spot and respond to cosmic dangers. Detecting a dangerous asteroid years in advance could allow time for deflection. Monitoring geological risks might help us evacuate or mitigate volcanic impacts. These threats remind us how fragile our position is. They also show that large-scale unity might be crucial. If we're stuck in endless conflict, we'll never organize a planetary defense. Ultimately, the best way forward is vigilance, cooperation, and a willingness to face the randomness of space. After all, the universe doesn't care about our survival, so we have to care enough ourselves. Meet Dr. Amina Hussein, an astrobiologist spending late nights at her observatory, listening for whispers of alien life. She combs through radio signals, analyzing faint traces that might be someone, somewhere, saying hello. One evening, she gives a lecture on the Fermi paradox and the Great Filter. Afterward, a curious student approaches. Student: if we found a planet that once had life but now it's gone, does that mean we're doomed? Dr. Hussein, smiling: not necessarily. It could be a warning or a motivator. If life emerges often but rarely lasts, maybe we need to protect our own planet even more. Student: so by searching for others, we could save ourselves? Dr. Hussein: exactly. Whether we find thriving civilizations or lonely ruins, it pushes us to value our world and each other. She reflects on this as she resumes scanning the skies. If the universe is quiet, maybe it's a plea for us to unite before we become just another cautionary tale. Dr. Hussein's story shows that these cosmic theories aren't just abstract puzzles, they influence how we see our responsibilities here on Earth. Curiosity drives us to look outward, but it also forces us to look inward, asking how we'll safeguard our planet and our future. In the next part, we'll explore how these threats converge and why human cooperation might be our strongest tool for passing the filter. From climate hazards to nuclear war, AI risks and cosmic events, these threats can overlap. A drought can cause food shortages, spark conflict, and heighten nuclear tensions. An AI glitch could magnify international distrust. Meanwhile, a large asteroid might not wait until we're ready. Yet humanity has an incredible power: agency. We've confronted diseases, wars, and disasters, often finding solutions when pushed to the brink. That capacity to adapt might be the edge we need to overcome the Great Filter. At the same time, cooperation on this scale is unprecedented. We need global strategies for climate resilience, AI governance, nuclear treaties, and asteroid defense. Each crisis demands unity, and that unity itself can be tough to achieve. Why not ignore these dangers until they're imminent? Because many challenges like climate change or AI misalignment become irreversible if we wait too long. The Great Filter might be a slow squeeze instead of a sudden cataclysm. Despite the difficulties, rays of hope exist. We've seen international teams build space stations, share vaccine research, and tackle ozone depletion. These show we can work together when motivated. So, are we standing on the edge of doom or the cusp of an era of cooperation? It's our call. The key lies in recognizing that we rise or fall together. If we can unify science, policy, and compassion, we might pass a test that eluded countless others. Up next, we'll tie these threads into a final vision. A world that grasps its potential and just maybe carries life beyond Earth. We've journeyed from the dawn of life to potential endings, nuclear conflict, AI gone wild, cosmic accidents, all tied to the Great Filter. It could be behind us, or it could lie just ahead. That silence in the stars might be a graveyard of civilizations that didn't make it. Yet we're still here, armed with knowledge, creativity, and an ability to cooperate, at least sometimes. This might be our critical moment. Do we learn from history, unite against existential threats, and nurture a future that includes traveling beyond our home world? Think of the Bennett family's farm, strained by climate shifts. Think of Dr. Hussein, searching the stars for answers. Their stories are mirrors for our own challenges and hopes. They remind us the stakes are real and personal. Where do we go from here? 1. Stay curious. Keep asking questions about who we are and where we're going. 2. Act collectively. Global problems demand global cooperation. There's no other way around it. 3. Use tech wisely. AI, energy solutions, and advanced science can save us or end us, depending on our choices. 4. Aim for the stars. Reaching beyond Earth might help ensure our long-term survival. We don't know how the story ends, but we get to help write it. If the Great Filter is a cosmic test, perhaps we can be the civilization that finally passes. Thank you for joining this exploration. If it resonates, please share, discuss, and remember, the cosmos may be silent, but our actions can speak volumes.